Hello everybody and welcome back to NCAA 2004 in the Alabama Crimson Tide Dynasty mode, and we have an interesting headline to grace the cover of Sports Illustrated. Penn State, number 4 Penn State, has lost to their in-state rival Pitt. Pitt managed to beat Penn State in, I don't think the first game of the year it might have been the first game of the season, I think, actually, for the Nittany Lions. But regardless, number 4 heading into the season, and now they're out. I mean, Lord knows how far they'll fall, but and the other side of the Big Ten that we are looking at today, we are playing the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So I don't normally shine too much light on the rest of the top 25 throughout the season because, if we're at the top of it, that's really all you need to know is that, we're at the 2 or 1 spot. That's typically where we sit if we're ever ranked this high. But if I ever catch a glimpse when I'm recording that, a big game like that, like Penn State losing happens, I'll showcase it and I'll put it in there. Or like last season, I think it was, when Notre Dame lost to South Carolina, you know what I mean? Like that was an important thing to put in since Notre Dame was literally first in the country, defending national champions. It was a relevant thing, but a not-so-relevant thing here is the Minnesota Golden Gophers program, to put it lightly. So, over the last few years, Minnesota's kind of been meddling around that 500 point. A couple years ago, they were 6-6. The year before last, they were 8-5, actually a decent year. But then last year, they kind of fell off a bit and went 5-7, which includes 6 losses in conference. They went 2-6 in the Big Ten. Not a great season for them. The Big Ten in general, typically in this game in NCAA04, the kind of bottom half of the Big Ten typically stays pretty awful, which you could argue is pretty par for the course for the real Big Ten, but it typically stays pretty bad. So looking across their roster, they have a lot of new guys, man. They have a new starting quarterback and a new starting running back, which didn't do great in the first game. So it's a tough little situation for the Gophers right here, but they're going to certainly try their best, and we're on the road. So maybe some shenanigans can take place as Dre Gates on a 3rd down tries to dump this one off quickly to Van, but that one's going to go absolutely nowhere, as Minnesota has that one well covered. So Sick Navin, or should I say Sicko Navin, decides to keep the offense on the field in no man's land on a 4th and 5, and it pays off as Dre Gates is able to find Hines all the way downfield at about the 10-yard line for a humongous pickup, and that is a huge blunder from the Minnesota defense as they give up that huge 4th and 5. But on 3rd and goal now, they have another chance to get us off the field, but Blackman is going to make them regret not doing that, as Blackman's able to run straight up the gut and get into the end zone for his first touchdown of the game, but it is hardly his first of the year, as that is now touchdown number 4 for Blackman. But now here come the Gophers heading the other way as Eric Wynn, there's no A, it's just Eric Wynn. As Eric Wynn is able to throw this one across the middle and finds, I believe, Calvin Knight for the Gophers for a first down. And Minnesota has a couple decent receivers here who had nice years last year, but there's just not a lot of starter experience. Even those 2 receivers I'm talking about only had the 1 year where they actually started, which is their junior sophomore year. So it's a younger team, and a lot of the guys on this team have not had a lot of exposure and a lot of experience. So, but we just see Raheem Turner for the first time. He's only got 95 yards on the year. And as you saw, he only has 100 or so in his career, or on the season now. But it's not great so far for him. But Wynn is going to try and pitch this one out to Turner to get into the end zone on an option play, and our defense has that one very well covered. And there's no chance that Minnesota's going to turn that one into 6, at least 6. So they're going to have to bring out special teams and hope that that's going to be at least 3 points, and it is. So Minnesota does answer back and get some points on the board. We will not be shutting them out, even though they did get shut out in the first quarter. But 7-3 now the score, and now it's 3rd and 4 heading the other way. Gates going to try and throw for it very quickly as he finds Hines across the middle once again for another completion, and both Hines and Vans really just kind of contribute in a different kind of way, even though they're not lighting up the scoreboard in terms of touchdowns, but they just seem to be open across the middle of the field for short yardage all the time. But now heading the other way, it's Blackman once again on the ground, or actually is I don't even know. That's not Blackman. That's actually Marquise Bowen, the backup running back, the sophomore. I had to double check the roster sheet. Yeah, that's Bowen, the backup running back. I never even noticed that when I was editing. I thought it was still 28, but it's not. That was Marquise Bowen, the backup running back. So, but now on 3rd and 5, Dre Gates going to try and run the option, and normally he would pitch it there and turn the ball over, but he actually keeps it himself. Probably the smart decision, even though it doesn't really help out the offense in any way. So that's going to bring up 4th and 6, but he holds on to it and gives Dennis another chance at a field goal. It lived to kick another another day here. So we're going to take a 7-point lead over Minnesota with just a minute left in the first half. So Minnesota's defense has been applying a lot of pressure here. They've really kind of slowed down this offense, and that's just, we're having to figure out how to play Big Ten football. That's kind of what it is. But Wynn is going to get absolutely clobbered here. We had two guys inside the pocket. There was absolutely no chance for Wynn to get out of that. And he's going to end up fumbling the football, and we're going to recover it inside Minnesota's 15. So we have another chance late in the half, and now we hand this one off, and that is going to be Blackman, of course, running straight up the middle and getting into the end zone for another Alabama touchdown. So we were doing pretty well here, or rather Minnesota's defense was doing pretty well, kind of silencing us and keeping us pretty restricted, but a turnover here late deep in their own end gives us an opportunity that we seize. So now 17-3 going to be the score at the end of the first half. It's still only a 14-point game, so Minnesota certainly not, out of it in definition here, but now in the second half on 3rd and 6, Gates wants a deep shot down the side of the field, and he finds an open target, and that pass is going to be completed for another humongous first down for Dre Gates, who's having a pretty decent game, all things considered here. But now 2nd 11 for the Crimson Tide. Gates is going to throw for it once again, hits it right down the middle, and he finds an open target once again. And I couldn't see exactly who that was, but there you see Dre Gates hasn't missed a pass yet. So considering the 2 interceptions he had in Idaho, it's a really nice start for him that we'd like to see. So 2nd and goal now for Dre Gates. He's going to throw this one across the middle, and that ball is going to sail out of the back of the end zone. But there was a lot of contact in the end zone, and there's a flag on the field. Maybe the refs saw what I saw, and they did. So that's going to be a pass interference call on Minnesota's defense, which has been so good up to this point. But that pass interference is going to get us on the 2-yard line and, of course, reset the down and give us a 1st and goal. So huge penalty for the Minnesota defense to give up here, as now we have a new lease on life offensively. So on 1st and goal, you could probably expect Blackman to get the call, and he does, and he gets into the end zone for a touchdown. But hold on, there's another hanky on the field. You got to be kidding me. And do not tell me it's on us. And it is. A holding call. Looks like someone on the offensive line got a little bit too much jersey. And now that's going to pretty much erase everything that we just got from the pass interference. That's just going to completely erase everything that we just got. As it showed Delvin Gill, but it was LaTroy Jackson who committed the penalty, so I'm not understanding exactly how that works. But on the next play, Dre Gates from the 12-yard line is going to throw an interception, and it had to happen at some point, right? After the 2 interceptions in Moscow, I kind of figured that he was going to throw one eventually, right? So there's an interception, but it goes nowhere for Minnesota as they have to punt the ball away. So we are back on offense, and now Gates, he's tired of mincing words, man. A home run shot downfield, somehow finds Ryan Reynolds just completely blanketed by that defender, but Reynolds able to come down with it, and that's going to flip the field for the Crimson Tide. But the third quarter is going to come to an end as neither team can really break through in the third quarter, and the scoreboard stays at 17-3. But starting off the fourth quarter at 3rd and 1, we're going to hand this one off to Blackman, who's juking around here trying to find some open space. Not a ton to work with, but he does get the first down at the very least. So, and we are outrunning Minnesota by quite a bit here. The ground game seems to be what is working. It's just with the case of Moscow as well. And on the very next play, we're going to hand it off to Blackman, and this time he's going to squeeze through the middle, completely untouched and undetected, and get into the end zone for another Crimson Tide touchdown. And that is now touchdown number 5. For Blackman, who's just continuing to have such a great start to the year. Remember, he had over 200 yards in Moscow, and he's continuing to produce here in Minneapolis as well. So pressure coming off the edge to Wynn, but Wynn somehow able to get rid of it, and that pass is completed. Now heading the other way as the top receiver here for the Golden Gophers, Scott Cook, had to come back for it and was able to catch it and turn upfield the other way. He did have 900 yards last year, over 900 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So we can't be super shocked if him, of all people, on this receiving core decides to produce a little bit, because that's the only person who really can. And Wynn now able to make another completion. He finds another open target, and this time we didn't even have him wrote down. The third receiver listed on Minnesota's depth chart has not even had a catch yet. In 2 seasons, he's a sophomore, has not had a catch yet. So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about here with Minnesota's receiving core. But they finally break through and get into the end zone once again as Wynn is able to find Brett Goodwin, the tight end, the senior tight end for Minnesota. Again, one of the few skill position players on this team that actually have some starter experience from previous seasons. So a good touchdown for the tight end. But Wynn now out of desperation trying to move the ball, and he's going to find Joshua Bowen's hands, and that's going to be another interception for one of the top players on this defense, if not the top player on this defense. And he's going to give his offense another opportunity at about the 10-yard line. And now McClintock, just trying to run out the clock here on 3rd and 2, is going to find enough open space to get brought down in the end zone for another touchdown. So just, again, trying to waste the rest of the game here, just get out of here with the win. Playing very defensive-minded football in the Metrodome, but McClintock says, you know what, I want to get another touchdown. So he's now has 2 on the year, a big performance for the running attack of this game here, but Minnesota's not done yet either, as Wynn lays this one out and finds Calvin Knight, the second receiver listed here, and he's going to go off to the races in a foot race, and he's going to win it and get another touchdown for Minnesota. So Minnesota's not going to leave, this game here without at least causing a little bit more damage. So things are still pretty much about done. They obviously got to try to go for a couple onside kicks to maybe tie the game, but with a minute left, that's going to be all she wrote here as Minnesota adds one more touchdown to make things a little bit closer. They could just tell Mom it was closer than it really was, but 31-17, we were never in any real danger of losing this game to the Gophers. We always led. And that's just the kind of football that we're playing here in Tuscaloosa. So that's more Big Ten competition, though. This is a Power 6 opponent. So we need to give the flowers to Minnesota, I guess, and maybe they'll have a better season. Who knows? But big win for the Tide here, and we're going to roll right on ahead. And this should pretty much about do all that we're going to focus on with out-of-conference play. Of course, we have some other games down the line here, but conference play is the big thing on the docket moving ahead. And you already know what kind of conference games we're going to be looking at as we get all the way into year number 12. But a solid performance all around for the Crimson Tide team. We cannot be upset about it. There's nothing to be upset about. Dre Gates still continuing to turn the ball over even just a little bit, which is something to at least put a pin in, you know what I mean? 9 for 12, which is great. 193 yards is low. No touchdowns and the interception. It's a weird stat line for Dre Gates. Just didn't have to do much. And again, the offense wasn't high-flying as much as we expect. Even Blackman, 3 touchdowns, but only 68 yards. You know what I mean? You can't really, it's a very interesting game that we just played here with Minnesota. I mean, that's Big Ten football, man. That's just how it works. When you play against the dregs of the Big Ten, you just typically end up playing games like this. I mean, look at bowl season from last year. I mean, you know what I'm saying? In real life last year, not in the sim, in real life last year. But either way, man, we pick up big wins against Kentucky and, of course, Cal, who is winless. I thought they'd be a better team, but they're not. So that's going to make us 4-0, extend our win streak to 26, man, 26, as we are carrying on against Arkansas, the second conference game. I always forget Kentucky, but it's the second conference game of the year, and hopefully we can grab a big win against the Razorbacks in Fayetteville, because we need it to keep our streak alive and keep our hopes alive. So hope to see you guys in Fayetteville.